Joining us right now is a top-notch crew that we have to discuss all of the things about the president's visit and the Memphis Safe Task Force. We have, of course, ABC 24 political analyst Otis Sanford and also Reverend Kenneth Whalum of New Olivet Worship Center. Gentlemen, good morning, and thank you for being here with us.
Good morning. Thank you. Good morning.
We appreciate you guys being here.
How do you get up so early?
It is tough, especially this morning. We were here about an hour earlier than we normally are, and so we've been streaming since 5.
Oh, wow.
But hey, a day like this, it's important for us to be here. So
Absolutely.
glad you guys are here with us.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about it. Steve Cohen, some strong remarks about the president. Any comments about his remarks and how the president, or how he views the president's visit to Memphis?
I think it's clear how Steve views the president, and it is as he has always viewed it. In terms of his remarks, they were wide-ranging. When I heard the Bob Dylan reference, I was like, wow, this is stream of consciousness. But no, Steve Cohen doesn't surprise me. He's been consistent in that regard. In terms of the president's visit, the first presidential visit in 15 years, as I understand it. It's interesting that these are the circumstances under which we get a presidential visit, but I look forward to what comes out of the visit. That's my initial reaction.
Yeah, I agree. I think where Steve Cohen is concerned, he's doing what he feels he has to do from a political perspective. He has to show that I'm not all in on the task force, even though he acknowledges correctly that crime is down. But there are other issues that he brought up, health care and the economic issues that he is saying the president is not going to talk about at all. He's going to focus only on the crime. So as far as the presidential visit itself, I agree again with Ken. It's always a big deal when a president comes to town. We've had presidents come to Memphis, a lot, going all the way back as far as I can remember to John F. Kennedy back in the 1960s. Yes. So a president coming to town is always a big deal. This one is more controversial, obviously, than all of the others, primarily because of who the president is, but also because of the issues that he's coming to address.
Yeah. And then also, too, there is the argument of there is so much happening in the world right now. Is this something that the president should be taking time away from the Oval Office to talk about?
Well, I learned long ago not to try to second guess number 47, because as soon as you do the second guess, you got to do a third and a fourth, because he's going to change up on you. But I think it is important to sort of focus on why he says he's here, which may be different than the reason why he's actually here. But he says he's here to report on the success of the task force. And that forces me, I don't know about anybody else, but it forces me to zero in on why the task force was sent here in the first place. And I can clearly remember some stories you guys did on ABC 24 and CW 30 covering a Beale Street shooting where there were hundreds of black kids, teenagers, running sort of like they did the other night. And that was when I was initially in support of the National Guard, because our people need to understand somehow that that's not the way to deal with the problems of today. And that has not changed. And it's troubling to me that we are depending on the presence of a task force to keep that kind of violence down when it obviously is not.
Right. It is not. I mean, we can't say that crime has gone away, even though we do have a lot more federal agents and agencies here, including the National Guard, the state, coming in because of what happened last weekend on Beale Street and other shootings. Last weekend we had kids getting shot. I think at least one of them fatally. So we still have the crime here. To the point that you make, though, about why the president is here and why he says he's here, yes, I do think that there is some distraction here from all the other issues going on. I mean, we got a war going on in Iran that keeps it's not going as well as he says it is on a daily basis. He's got to deal with that. He's got to deal with high gas prices. He's got to deal with, there's still the Epstein files out. There's a lot that he has to deal with, and for him to take the time to away from those things to focus on what he considers to be a win here, because he's saying this is a win, and they're going to portray this as a win today at the round table. I think it gives him a little bit of an opportunity to take a victory lap, so to speak, on this one issue.
And I think we can convert it into a win for us if we not focus so much on him and put a mirror up on ourselves as a community. The thing that we can do, we have to control the things we can control. Mayor Young has taken some steps in that regard to get us to sort of come together and work together to address the problem of teen violence, and particularly young black teen violence. And I don't know whether or not we're going to do that right now if we focus on Trump and on that bigger picture that Otis is talking about. I think we can do it. It's just a matter of whether or not interviews like this and this discussion reach into where they need to reach into.
Agreed. Because, I mean, it does give a well-rounded perspective of what everyone wants, and that is a safer Memphis. Regardless of where you stand,
Absolutely.
Everybody wants a safer Memphis.
Yeah, there's no question about it. Everybody wants to be safe. And let's be honest, there are a lot of people who say they feel safer now because of this. And there are some tangible reasons why that is. Crime is down. People are saying that they don't hear gunshots anymore as much as they did prior to this. So, yeah, there are some reasons that we can point to that brings us together to fight this crime thing. But let's be honest, Ken. I mean, if the president is here, he's going to make sure that it is all about him. And it's kind of difficult not to focus on him because he wants the spotlight on him.
Except when situations like this, when the three of us locally talking about what's going on locally, here's what I have to say and repeat. You cannot ungrow crops. You and I have talked about that based on your agricultural background.
And I got one.
But what we're seeing now is consequences, crops that I believe can be traced back to maybe 2012, 2013, when the city of Memphis surrendered its charter of public school education. I think I'd be interested in some kind of study, looks at the data, starting with the surrender, look at the crime from that point and see what has happened up to this point and up to the point that called for the creation of the task force, in President Trump's opinion. I would be interested in that. I don't have time to do that kind of analysis, but just anecdotally and generally just looking at it and looking at the children who are involved, those children graduated from a school system that had no organizational integrity based on the vote of the city of Memphis. So I'd be interested in it, but maybe y'all can do it.
Yeah. Hey, that's
Don't give
a
them
great
any
story
work to
idea.
do.
I'm like,
They got
wait a
enough
minute
work
now.
to do already.
That's a great story idea. Good deep dive for us to look into, because I think you have a valid point. You both do. Success. That is the big buzzword that's running around and everyone is using it. But how do we actually measure the success of the Memphis Safe Task Force? When we're looking at numbers, when we're looking at figures, they're talking more than 7,000 arrests in several weeks and several months. But if you look at MPD's numbers, they're counting and touting more than 9,000 arrests within the same time period. So do we measure success by just the crime rates in the stats? Do we measure it by community trust, or what do we measure success by?
Well, Yvonne, the numbers really don't mean anything to me. Not at all. You can throw numbers out there all day. The president throws numbers out there. He said crime was down 70-some%, which is not the case. So I don't pay any attention to the numbers because what's behind the numbers? You say you got 7,000 arrests. Well, where are those people? Are they still being incarcerated? Does that lead to jail overcrowding? I mean, are they shipped off somewhere else? I mean, so I don't pay any attention to the numbers. How we will gauge success here, I think it's based on the sentiment, how people feel, because we're still going to have crime. Crime is going to be just like the biblical, you're going to have the poor people will be with you always from the Bible. Crime is going to be with us. That's just a matter of fact. But if we can contain it, if we can deal with it, if we can address the issues that you're talking about, whether they're educational issues or economic issues, to try to lessen that, that's fine. But I think that the success is going to be how we feel about crime. And if you spread it out a little bit more, how people outside of Memphis feel about crime. There's a lot of people out there who are still denigrating Memphis. We got NBA players saying, I don't want to come to Memphis. We got NBA players saying they ought to move the Grizzlies out of town. Well, that does not help us at all. So until we get to that point where it's not just us who are feeling better about our city from a crime perspective and everything else, but the nation and the world feeling better about us, that's where the success will come.
Well, unfortunately, I think we are going to have to judge the success by the numbers. Unfortunately, I say that because I'm in agreement with the notion about the sentiment and how we feel about it, but I don't think we can sort of gauge how we feel about it until after the task force leaves. And if after the task force leaves, the numbers shoot back up, then we're going to feel terrible about it. We're going to feel like it was a waste of time and money. But we can affect the sentiment. Again, the crime's not going anywhere, but we can affect the sentiment by putting a mirror up and stop being in denial about who Memphis is and what Memphis is. We've got to face the fact that it is what it is. We've got to face the fact that we've got children who just as late as this past Friday were out of control on Beale Street with the National Guard and the MPD and the Tennessee Highway Patrol physically present.
They were there.
You cannot legislate morality. That's something Dr. King used to say all the time. And if we don't do the deep dive that you referred to, if churches don't do it, we gotta reach our young people. Now, I don't know how we're gonna do it with a failing educational system. And the word failing, I hate to use it, but the numbers, the numbers suggest that 75% of high school graduates who can't read on grade level is a failure. So if we don't address that and do the things that we can do, I'm sorry, but I think the success is not going to be there. I think it's going to continue a failure.
Mm-hmm. I see your point, both of you. When it comes to crime in general, I've always said, it's a multifaceted problem that's going to take all of us to make a difference and make it better. One other thing that also is a problem is transparency. Mm-hmm. And it is. It's transparency with leaders. It's transparency with this task force. It's maybe even transparency in the home about what the real issues are at home. When it comes to this task force specifically, we don't know how much longer this operation is going to last. We don't really have much information about how much this is costing us, especially deploying the National Guard for as long as they've been here. Right. Is any of that concerning to you two? And are you hoping maybe to get some answers today about any of that?
Well, I don't think we're going to get any answers today. But yes, all of those things that you mentioned are concerning to me because, you know, as a journalist, I want to get answers to a lot of different things. And so we're not getting that. And to another point that was said earlier on ABC 24, when the gentleman who claims that or says he's got video of the task force coming to his house and arresting him by mistake. Well, we have not heard one word from the task force about what happened there, why it happened there, what's the situation. We got crickets on that. So it seems to me that the task force is giving information that they want us to have to make them look good. But when it comes to other things, like this gentleman, like the Border Patrol and ICE rounding up people who are not convicted or not criminals at all, including Afghan families who were brought here after they helped the country during the Afghan conflicts, and now they're being rounded up and hauled off. We don't have any information on that. So I am 100% concerned about the lack of transparency on a lot of those issues.
And I'm concerned for a different reason. The immigration issue is a huge umbrella that people use to their advantage depending upon their rhetorical positions. However, if there were no need for the task force, if there were no need for some kind of intervention, we wouldn't be talking about this. I do have a personal anecdote of one of our church members who was awakened at, I think he said 4 o'clock in the morning, of law enforcement officials banging on his door. You can imagine, it's 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, you sleep, and the police and others are at your door telling you got to come out, you got to come out. You know why? Because somebody had given his address, and this person was a gang member, a repeat violent offender, and we have to deal with who we are as a community. We can't continue to blame somebody else for the condition of our city. That man I'm talking about, he came out with his heart palpitating. I mean, imagine. You about to have a stroke because the police are at your door. Well, the police were not at his door because Trump is a Republican. The police were at his door because the law enforcement officials were pursuing a criminal who had given his address. We cannot ignore those kinds of things because those things pile up and create the need, even if it's a fake need on the part of Trump. Trump can say, well, look at the crime. Look, Memphis is the highest crime city in the United States. Well, what do we say? No, it's not. Well, yes, it is. We have to deal with the reality that only we can deal with. And I really don't know, Otis, how we come to a resolution.
Well, to your anecdote from your church member, though, let's give the authorities the benefit of the doubt that they were given wrong information and they just had to check it out. But in a lot of cases, and I don't know if it was in this case, they don't come out and give the information after the fact.
Well,
they
run
off and it's silence.
Absolutely,
that's the problem there.
I absolutely agree.
So let's just, to your point, Yvonne, let's have some transparency here, even when you make a mistake.
Absolutely.
Come out and say we made a mistake
100%.
here. We got the wrong address, but we had to check it out.
100.
And even though it was 4 o'clock in the morning, we are sorry that we had to do this,
100.
but this is what's going on.
100% agree.
Okay.
100%.
All right.
And then when we're talking about these instances, both of them very valid and have happened to several different people across the Memphis metro. Does this build trust or does this build fear? Are people really scared that this will happen to them?
I don't think there's any question.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any question. People are really scared. And
Absolutely.
I think people should be. Y'all.
People should be scared? Come on.
Absolutely. But maybe not afraid, not scared of the task force. Otis, if I had been at Bluff City, whatever it is, on Beale Street eating barbecue, and we just coming out of the restaurant, and I see 1,000 teenagers running down the street or fighting or shooting, I'm scared, and it had nothing to do with the task force. Yes, we should be afraid, but maybe not of the ones that we are being told to be afraid of. Life is complicated. These are complex issues, but I want you to know that I am afraid for the safety of my grandchildren, my wife, but I'm not afraid of what the police are going to do to them.
Well, I believe that there are some people in this community, especially immigrants in this community, undocumented immigrants in this community, who are deathly afraid. And it's not of people running down Beale Street.
Absolutely.
Even though we should be concerned about that. There's no reason that a 14-year-old should be out on Beale Street at 11:30 on a Saturday night anyway.
And multiply that times what, 300?
Exactly. So, yeah. But there are some people who are afraid of this task force, primarily because we have conflated legitimate law enforcement operations to help this community with another group of people over here who are just sort of running amok to some degree, snatching up people, separating families, and this is happening here in Memphis, and taking them off to places, whether it's Mason, Tennessee, or down in Jenner, Louisiana, or down in Texas. That's happening, and people should be afraid of that.
Which brings up, I think, another pink elephant, and that is that the immigration issue is a separate issue from the black people issue. I don't think most black people are concerned about the same things that the immigrant community is concerned about. That's not something that I believe is arguable. It is something that I think is evidence of a more complex and multi-layered issue in our city that, again, I think we can address if we do the work. Mayor Young convened a couple of weeks ago a meeting between the chamber and the school board and myself and his administrative staff where we could do some things maybe out of the sight of the public, but maybe we should do it in sight of the public that show the citizens of Memphis that we're trying to address the issues that would cause teenagers to run amok. Where were their parents at 3 o'clock in the morning? Well, I don't know where they were. Maybe the parents were out there running with them. I don't know. But again, those are things that we can do. The old prayer that says, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. That is more more appropriate now than I believe it ever has been, and I've been around for a minute.
Otis, I'll give you a second to respond before we go to break. If you
Well, yeah, again, we should not accept marauding teenagers on Beale Street. That we should not accept that. And whether it's on Beale Street or whether it's at the shopping center, whether it's at a pizza joint in Poplar Plaza, we should not accept that. But I still say that there are so many other systemic issues. You touched on some of them here, Ken, that lead to this. You've got poor, struggling families. While it's easy to blame them for letting their children run amok, they are just trying to figure out, well, where's my next meal going to come from? How am I going to pay this high rent? How am I going to get to a job and I've got a broken down car? How am I going to deal with this 18 or 19-year-old child of mine who is going crazy, and I can't deal with the 14-year-old child who is following him running crazy? All of those issues are out there, and they are bigger than just trying to solve them with one fell swoop. That's all I'm saying.
Gentlemen, great job. All right, we've got a lot more to come, so stay with us here on 24 Plus News Live. We'll be right back after this.